If you are easily offended, please leave and don't come back. The views, opinions, and statements from this podcast are by no one. I repeat, by no one. They are not real, and everything is completely made up. This is for entertainment purposes only. The people in this podcast are not doctors, lawyers, or health professionals. They barely graduated high school. It's not that serious. Enjoy the show and have a nice day. Hi, guys. Well, first of all, thank you for watching the video and thank you for all the support. Before we start the video, please do me a favor. If you like the video, then press like. And if you have any questions or maybe we didn't talk about something that you would like to know about, comment and let us know. And also, I was looking at the algorithm on YouTube, the analytics actually, and it shows that 54.4% of you are not subscribed. So please do. It means nothing to you, like literally nothing. Just push subscribe and support the channel so I can keep making videos like this. Okay? Thank you. Bye. Welcome to another episode of Vernon's podcast, brought to you by me, Vernon Smith. Today I have a very special episode. Sir, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Browatzke. We were contacted through Rainbow Story Hub, which is one of a few groups in the city that is chronicling our queer history here in Edmonton.
Yeah. And so what's the main focus of the organization?
So Rainbow Story Hub has a focus on telling Edmonton's queer history through the experiences of the people that lived it. We just like people telling their stories. So many of people's stories have been lost in Edmonton and other cities. We just want to make sure that doesn't happen.
Oh, so when you them telling stories, how far back does this go? Are you like?
Well, the organization itself is fairly new.
Yeah.
Edmonton's queer history is as long as the history of Edmonton itself. Obviously, there's always been queer people here.
Yeah. But I'm in terms of like, say, what's like the oldest story that you were able to like hear?
I mean, we can go back pretty far. Edmonton Queer History Project has stuff back as far as the 40s. The downtown map that Edmonton Queer History Project released last year talks about raids on theaters in the 1940s. I think for what we were kind of prepared to do here, we're kind of talking more. Like a history of Edmonton gay bars. The earliest gay bar in Edmonton opened up in 1969. So that's kind of where we're going to go today.
Yes, we are. So what was 1969?
1969.
What was the name of it?
So the first gay bar in Edmonton was called Club 70. Even though it opened up in 1969, but maybe Club 69 would have been a little bit too risque. In 1969, the federal government had just partially at least decriminalized homosexuality, so the time was certainly right for Edmonton to get its first gay bar. There had been venues where queer people had found each other before that, movie theaters and hotel bars and such, but in 1969 Club 70 opened. It did not last very long in that first location. The landlords found out that it was being used as a gay bar and shut it down. Almost immediately. It quickly relocated to a second location. They kind of broke in and got their records and stuff out, and then relocated to a second location on 106th Street. And at one form or another, that stayed a gay bar from 1970 until 2012. So for 42 years, there was a gay bar in that second location.
Oh, okay. So at the closing, what? There must be like a lot of history. I wonder what it was like back then.
I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old, so I certainly can't. I can't say what it was like. But gay bars in the 70s, they were a private members club. You kind of had to know people to get access. This is predating any sort of internet. There was no even print publications. So the only way that you even knew that this was happening was by word of mouth. So. But you had to have memberships to get into clubs back then for safety reasons, because they didn't want clubs just open to the public. You had to like get buzzed in. Like people had to know who you were before you could go. So for someone new to the city, or just visiting the city, or someone just coming out, it was challenging to access those spaces.
Yeah, because they didn't know at all.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, I can't believe that when you say it's like illegal before then. So was it what they just like arrest you?
Yeah,
Like this?
yeah, absolutely. Like until 1969, and that was only partial decriminalization, right? Like it was still in the 60s and beyond. It was a criminal act. Sodomy was a criminal act. Like oral and anal sex was a criminal act. Homosexuality was seen as like a mental disorder. So it's very, very different back then than it is seen now, for sure.
Oh, I'm so glad I was born like around this time.
No, absolutely right. And I mean, like it's far from perfect now,
Yeah.
but it's certainly much better than
What
it
does
was.
perfect look like to you?
Well, I mean, perfect is going to be a world where people don't even have to come out. That people can just love who they're going to love, date who they're going to date, just have sex with who they're going to have sex with, without anybody judging, or without us judging ourselves. Right? A lot of there's still a lot of internalized stigma and internalized homophobia.
Oh my God, yeah. That's what I kind of got this. Yeah, it's kind of like a big fuck you. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely,
a
right.
kind of like a defiance, rebellion kind of a thing. And it was I was like the only one who really cared, because when I did this, I think it was like 2 days ago, and then I went to like the mall and stuff, and everybody who like saw it, and they're like so like all like happy, like hey, they're like all like cheering and stuff. But it wasn't really like that before then. I guess like now it's kind of like they could put a label on it.
Yeah.
Me. It makes them more comfortable, and they're like, oh, okay, he's gay. Good.
Yeah, and that's I guess still a fairly recent development. I know, like I was growing up in the 80s, and even just if a guy had his ear pierced, but if it was, I don't remember if it was the right or the left side, but if it was one side was the straight side and one side was the gay side.
Yeah.
So if you got the wrong ear pierced, and certainly guys with painted nails, that was atypical. I mean, there was always examples, right? You look at someone like Boy George, who was a huge pop star in the 80s, and this was even before he came out. But he had his nails painted.
Yeah.
So people could see representations of themselves, kind of in pop stars like that. But again, it was few and far between, and that was they were not publicly out. So you're like, okay, well, that's kind of like artsy.
Yeah.
That's theatrical, but
It's kind of like a rock star thing.
it's a rock star thing, right? Like,
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's looking back, even I remember with like Ellen, that was a huge thing.
yeah, absolutely.
When she came out, she's like, I'm gay on People magazine.
Yeah,
Back in like 95, was it?
later than that, I think I want to say like 97. I was living in Lethbridge at the time and working with the gay group there, which there certainly was not a lot, but yeah, that puppy episode when she came out, because they didn't want to let people know what was coming up, so they called it the puppy episode. Ellen gets a puppy, but it was her coming out, and her coming out as a character, and her coming out as an actress in real life, and it was a huge deal, and it did kind of derail the show, and it certainly derailed her career for a while, because it was still just not generally accepted.
Yeah. For like the longest time. Even me when I was growing up, I'm 32. So, I'm from the Lethbridge Territories, a small little town called Beshico, Edzo. And there it was very clear that was not wanted, or kind of people would look at you like kind of like sideways, like, what are you doing? Why are you acting like that? So I learned to kind of, I guess, suppress it a little bit until I got older, and then I moved away, and then started to be myself. But but recently, I just actually like officially came out with the episode on the podcast, and everybody around me already knew about it and stuff. So this was just for everybody else. It's been liberating, and anyway, so back to these clubs. So this was kind of like a safe haven for a lot of gay people, right?
Absolutely, and it very much they were safe spaces. It wasn't like things are now. I mean, gay bars in 2023 are still safe spaces for people, but especially in a city like Edmonton, there are so many other spaces that you can just go to, and you can be yourself in. you could probably like even hit on someone of the same gender, whereas you couldn't back then. Like,
You can't
like,
really
like
do.
if you went and if you went and got your gay on in some straight bar, you were running a risk of being beat up. If you were too noticeably or visibly gay or queer in the streets, you were running that risk of being beat up.
Yeah.
Like you had, if you were going to be connecting with people, you had to first know where those queer spaces were, and then you had to go to them. That was your only option.
Yeah, that's like I can't imagine just feeling like you're just fearing for your safety like all the time. That's insane. So with these safe spaces here in town, could you maybe have anything like at the top of your head name some? Because I don't even know anything.
Like currently in Edmonton?
Yeah.
So Edmonton currently only has one gay bar. That's Evolution Wonderlounge. It's been open since 2013. But Edmonton has many like allied or queer adjacent spaces. Like there's spaces that have drag brunches all the time, like places like Campio or Spotlight Cabaret. Fruit Loop has been a pop-up organization in the city putting on events at spaces since, again, 2013. And still do that. Places like Grindstone, places like the Starlight Room, and just taking over kind of queer space,
Okay.
or taking over straight space and making it into queer space. Sorry.
Oh, nice. So when you say dry events, you mean like they're not? It's like sober.
No, drag. Sorry, not dry.
Oh, I said dry.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there are dry events. There are certainly events that happen in all ages spaces where alcohol is certainly not the focus.
Yeah.
Or places like Naked Cyber Cafe. They just did a drag event on September 30th for National Day of Truth and Reconciliation with an Indigenous queer drag troupe. But they're not a licensed space, so that was a sober event. That was a dry event.
Oh, perfect. Because I'm in recovery, 7 months sober, I think.
It's amazing.
Thank you. So like I kind of I don't really. There's some things I can't really go to.
Absolutely, it's super challenging. I'm 12 years sober after
Amazing.
many years of not being sober.
Yeah.
And I've worked in nightlife that entire time. And I know that that's rare, and that I was lucky to be able to continue on my career path without having to I just can't be around it. But
Yeah. So like that's like very common in our community, isn't it? Are you? Well, are you gay?
yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
I
was
super gay, professionally gay. I came out like in the early mid 90s kind of thing. So yeah, I've been out and part of the community since then. And yeah, there's absolutely a lot of substance abuse and addiction issues.
That's what I was going to say. Like in our community, there's a lot of that.
Because it's challenging dealing with homophobia, whether that's coming from your family or your church or your school or your friends or yourself. And sometimes the way that people in our community process those feelings that they're feeling or try to shut down those feelings that they're feeling is through drugs and alcohol. And that can become very pattern forming. So even when we come out, that's still part of how we are processing trauma and processing stress in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in this day and age too. There's so much going on. It's insane.
There's so much going on. Like,
Yeah.
we're inundated. Social media is a wonderful thing in that it connects us and lets us form connections. But sometimes those connections are very superficial. There's certainly not always a lot of depth to them. And they can be a little fake too. So that's like you can feel connected, but you can still feel super alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like right now we are all super connected, but still feel alone, at least in my own personal experience. Because it's weird. Like I live alone, and I still like, even though I know I have people around and people who care about me and stuff, and I can call them, it's still very like lonely. And I don't know how to explain it. And that's why I'm kind of like scrolling on my phone and seeing what everybody's doing. But that doesn't really help.
No, because then you're just watching other people's lives, and sometimes that just reinforces, all these people are out with their friends and they're doing so much and I'm not. And that can just reinforce those feelings of loneliness.
Yeah, and like they're like having so much fun and I'm just here being bored.
But sometimes they're not. Like people are going out and they're posting all the best moments of their lives, but we don't know what they're going through the rest of the time. Like they might be posting posting stuff, but they could still be feeling that. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Kind of putting
people,
on like a little.
it's putting on a show, right?
Yeah.
It's creating a persona for social media. So,
Yeah. So how long have you been in Edmonton?
so I grew up just outside of Edmonton, and then I went to university in Lethbridge and moved back to Edmonton in 1999.
Oh, so you got like your college or university papers and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, real smart.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. And then many years of drug and alcohol abuse after that kind of derailed that. But
Fish oils.
yeah,
Fish oils. Yeah, I take a lot of it.
yeah.
And so back with that bar, why is there only one gay bar here?
So when Evolution opened in 2013, there were 3 other bars. So Evolution was one of 4. One of them closed shortly after. Actually, it was 8 years ago today that the other dance club closed. So Evolution's been the only dance club for 8 years as of today. And yeah, I don't know. I think partly it's because Edmonton is such a progressive city, but also kind of a smaller city. So where we don't have a giant community, but the people that are like they have options other than just going to Evolution. There are those pop-up events. There's a lot of like queer social groups. Like there's queer sports teams like Team Edmonton. There are those drag events happening all over the city. The city is just progressive enough that a lot of people can just live their best gay life without necessarily needing gay bars.
I don't even know where to look. Like I want to be a part of the community like more and just like in person and stuff, but I don't even know. Like I tried Googling it and then I'm just like, where is like, what does exactly happen here?
It depends on, I guess, kind of what your interests are. Like, I know like you had said you're in recovery, so maybe nightlife is not necessarily the way to go. So if you're into sports and athletics, there's curling teams and swimming teams and running clubs, and so there's this umbrella organization called Team Edmonton that represents all these different sports and athletic groups. They have stuff going on 12 months of the year. I mean, there's still alcohol adjacent, I guess, a lot of the events, but I think they're less likely to be alcohol centered.
Okay.
There's the Pride Center of Edmonton, which has been around in one form or another since like 1972. Originally, it was Gay Alliance Towards Equality, and then that transitioned into the Gay and Lesbian Community Center, and then that transitioned into the Pride Center. And they have social and support groups too. Right now, they're very inundated with a bunch of queer refugees to Canada that are coming, that are coming to Canada, that are accessing the Pride Center for basic just life needs. But they have social and support groups that are meeting there as well.
Oh, perfect. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What about cooking? I want to like start learning how to cook better.
I don't know that I don't know that there are any gay cooking groups or gay cooking clubs, but I mean, start one. I mean, like maybe talk to the Pride Center and utilize their social media, or connect with like Evolution or Fruit Loop or something that's got big social media, and just say, hey, does anybody else want to do like a cooking class, or like people just need to start stuff, right? So
yeah. It's kind of like it's a lot of work, isn't it?
It's a lot of work, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like I feel like everything's just we have to like build it and do it ourselves, and
everything that exists, someone had to build, right?
Yeah.
So, I've seen certainly a lot of groups that have started over the years, and there's a lot of like passion and excitement, and then it is a lot of work, and then so they fade out, but groups come and go. But there are a lot of groups in the city with some serious longevity. The curling group has been around since the late 90s. The swim team Making Waves has been around since the late 90s. Like I said, the Pride Center kind of goes back to 1972. Imperial Sovereign Court of the Wild Rose is a drag-based fundraising organization that's been around since 1976. So there's a lot of longevity too. But there's been lots of groups that are around for a year or two and then kind of fold. The last gay bar that opened up in Edmonton was Pink Noise Ultra Lounge. It opened up in 2018, I think. And had only like a 6-week run or something, but so even businesses just kind of come and go, right? But,
yeah. So I would say like what like so you're what's your like main drive and your main motivations for being so involved in the community?
So I wasn't. I was kind of a loner in high school. I was kind of a loser in high school. I was kind of a nerd in high school. And then when I came out, I found a community in Lethbridge where um, we had something in common. Like just the fact that we were all queer people in a very conservative area gave us something in common. There was certainly safety in numbers, and so we kind of hung out together. And I got involved with the gay group there, and I found kind of a greater purpose, I guess, to what I was doing. Like I saw the importance of community building. So when I moved back to Edmonton from Lethbridge, all I wanted to do was find a gay job. So at the time we had this Edmonton Rainbow Edmonton Rainbow Business Association that put out a directory called the Pride Pages, which was like a listing of all gay owned and operated businesses. And so I didn't really care what I did. I wanted to work for something gay, and that got me a job at Down Under Bathhouse, which is long since closed. But through them, I got involved with gay bars in the city, and that's just kind of been my career path ever since. Got involved with some groups here, and that became my friend group, and that's just what we do.
So it's just like an interest thing. You just like want to be involved.
Yeah, like I got involved with the community just because I wanted to be involved with the community. So.
Yeah, I do too, but I don't know what to do. I still have like an old childhood, but whatever. Anyway, so these bathhouse. So is that people just go there to like hook up and stuff?
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a place. It's an alternative to bars where people could go cruise. Certainly now they're kind of like all gender, but certainly at the time that I got involved with them, it was for men, and it was a lot of like gay, bisexual, closeted men. Edmonton at one point had 3 of them. Most notoriously, Edmonton had the Pisces Spa, which was an absolutely gorgeous bathhouse in the late 70s that got raided by the police. The largest mass arrest in Alberta history. People's lives got completely destroyed by that raid. But so that was in 1981. It kind of galvanized the community. It kind of created certainly an enemy, a common purpose that kind of led to 1982's first kind of organized Pride weekend, as it did in many other cities. That Pride was a response to police overreach, police brutality, police aggression. It certainly that is not something that's unique to Edmonton, but that is kind of Edmonton's Stonewall moment, where it's like the community's like, yeah, no, this was not acceptable. They were just down there at the bathhouse doing their own thing. They were just having a good time. They were not hurting anyone. Just let them live their lives, right?
Yeah. So this was just like kind of like a pushback, kind of like a response to the police.
Absolutely, yeah.
So back so that what do you think about Pride today?
I mean, Pride today is certainly very, very different. It is very different in Edmonton than it is in other Canadian cities. Other Canadian cities still have parades. Edmonton has not had a parade since 2018. It is a very complicated issue. Obviously, COVID derailed a lot of Pride celebrations across the country. We coming out of COVID, Edmonton had 2 new groups start up: Edmonton Pride Fest and Capital Pride. Capital Pride has, I think, since kind of folded. Pride Fest has now put on 2 years of programming at Churchill Square. A parade has not been their focus. I don't know if or when Edmonton will get a parade, but I mean, Edmonton has had Pride of one kind since 1982. In 1982, in kind of like a celebration and recognition of 1 year since the Pisces raids. A bunch of community groups in the city, including the Imperial Sovereign Court of the Wild Rose, which is still around, put on a weekend of events, and it just kind of grew ever since. Our first parades weren't until the 90s, and then there were parades pretty consistently up until 2019 when the Pride Festival Society canceled the parade. They canceled their programming and then folded during COVID.
Oh, this is a lot of information.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, this is insane. I love this. It's like History Channel. So I would say with like Pride, I haven't actually gone to a Pride parade myself. I don't know why. it wasn't, I guess it wasn't really a thing for me. And then now I probably would go if there was one, just to kind of check it out. Is there, what about Calgary?
Calgary still has one. Like Edmonton is the only major city in Canada that doesn't.
Yeah. I heard there's like, it's, well, a friend of mine, he was on a podcast and they were talking about how there's like a lot of division in the gay community,
Yeah,
the pride
absolutely.
community.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So 2018's parade was interrupted by a protest. Now, certainly, Edmonton Pride was no stranger to having protests. There was always anti-gay protesters like on the sidelines, but this was a protest very similar to what had happened in Toronto with Black Lives Matter, of queer and trans, Black, Indigenous people of color, saying, no, we're not represented by this. You guys, as the Pride board, need to be coming up with programming that is representative of our entire community, and you're not doing that. There's not representation from our community on your board or in your events. You need to do better. And then they're like, okay, we can definitely have those conversations. Let's finish the parade, and then we have a whole year that we can plan stuff out. So the parade finished that year, and then those conversations either didn't happen or did happen, but were again derailed by that division that you were talking about. And so they just threw up their hands and said, "Yeah, we're not doing anything." And there hasn't been a parade since.
So that just kind of fucked everything up.
Yeah, so other cities have managed to navigate that in different ways. Like, don't forget, these pride boards were, for the most part, very volunteer-driven. There were not a lot of paid positions, if any paid positions. So they were just kind of like, yeah, you know what? I'm not putting up with it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm giving my own time for this. I don't need this. And, like, this is not my...
Yeah.
If what we're doing isn't right, then someone else can do it.
My stance on that is just like, there was, of course, those issues of people feeling like they're not being represented. That's, yes, we know that, but then let the whole movement break through first, even if it's like, seems like all like whites or like, it's fine. Let them break through, like, and then we can come in and we can solve I guess like the internal things later.
Well, and I think that's kind of where the conversation was at. Like cis white gays had broken through, and had been broken through for a long time, and still weren't, like, there was still all these other groups in our community that weren't having their voices heard and didn't have a platform. Now, I mean, these are again volunteer positions, so all people had to do was volunteer to be on them. But I mean, a lot of these communities have pretty significant other barriers. Like, it's hard for them. It's hard for people to volunteer time to be part of Pride programming when they are having very real challenges just making their basic day-to-day needs met. Like, they're dealing with problems in housing, and they're dealing with problems in employment, that they're dealing with day-to-day racism that makes it impossible for them to be expending a lot of energy in other ways. So yeah. I mean, it's a complicated mess. And so when people ask, they're like, "Oh, do you think Edmonton's going to have a Pride parade, or what do you think is going to happen with Edmonton Pride?" I usually say, I'm like, well, whatever's going to happen, it needs to be again very grassroots, very community led, but that community needs to be led by the groups that are not being represented. So yeah, like, if there's going to be a parade, it needs to be organized and led by queer and trans people of color.
Hi, sorry to interrupt, but if you would be so kind to follow Rob's affiliates or whatever, go follow them. Okay, I think they're like YEG Queer History on Instagram, or you know what? I'll just put all the socials up. There, it's Rainbow Story Hub Foundation and Edmonton Queer History. So, yes, do me a favor and go and check them out if you are a part of the queer community and reside in Edmonton, or an ally in any way. Just go check them out. Okay, thank you. I feel like how do you get, like, there's always going to be people who are upset because it's such a huge topic, and everybody that has this commonality of being yes and under the umbrella of queer, but we're all so different. Very, very different. It's just, I don't know. I I just kind of just like, why can't we all just like get along? It's fine.
I mean, that would be great. Why can't we all just get along? But I mean, that's it's just never going to happen. Everybody has a different vision of what they think the community should look like, and no one's vision is any more valid than anyone else, and no one's vision is any more right than anyone else. But
Yeah.
like I'm like just do it. Like
Yeah.
like that's what I say. It's like, oh, there's only one bar, and I don't like that bar. I'm like, open up another one. Like do the party that you want to be. Like, I've seen so many people, they're like, oh, well, I'm not represented in this party, so I'm just going to start my own party. So
Yeah. That's actually, that sounds like it would work a lot better.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's like, I would say like, what was like the last big event here that you maybe have went to that you have fun in?
Well, I mean, so Edmonton Pride Fest had a 3-day event at the end of August where they had I think it was the first provincial Two-Spirit powwow on the Thursday night, and then they had a 90s night on the Friday night, and then they had Pride Fest programming all day on the Saturday. So it was a 3-day. It was still a 3-day Pride programming. So, like, it was thousands and thousands of people. So
Okay, I need to start going to these things. I need to find a boyfriend.
well, I mean, that's a good place to find the boyfriends. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's still a bathhouse. You can find a boyfriend there. I'm sure there's apps still. I'm like, I don't know what the kids use anymore.
Good grinder.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd say check out Evolution, but I understand about the recovery issues, so I'd recommend finding some sober friends to go with first, because then you have that support network of other people that, like, there's people that go there that don't drink, obviously, right? But there's a variety of non-alcoholic beverages you can drink from, and then there's a lot of people like in recovery that just want to, like, we still want to go dance, but they go together so that they have that support system.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
And I've never been to a drag show before.
We've never. Well, I mean, there's lots of drag shows, and there's lots of sober drag shows.
I feel like it'd be so much fun.
Like they're a good time. Saturday night there was 4 drag shows in Edmonton. Just Saturday night there was 4 shows. Like there's lots of drag in the city.
I'm just not trying hard enough, aren't I?
Well, I mean, if you're new to the city and you don't know people to go with, it's a little daunting, right? Like,
Yeah, I remember one time I was asking my sister-in-law to come with me, and then she was just like, "Wait, I had to go ask my husband, who's her husband, who's my brother," and then he was like, "No, he's like religious and stuff." So
yeah, it's hard. I mean, there's a lot of indigiqueer drag in the city. There's a troupe that's just indigenous drag performers. So
okay, drag. So every time I think of drag, I think of like RuPaul.
Yeah, absolutely. The city gets lots of RuPaul queens.
Yeah?
Canada's got its own drag race now. Edmonton's got their first drag race star on it. Belinda Verga, she's an amazing Filipino drag queen. She just had a show on Saturday night.
Oh wow! So they were stars on the show, and then they're here.
Yeah, well, so there's RuPaul's Drag Race, which is the main franchise, but Canada's got its own now.
Yeah.
Who's judged by Brooklyn Heights, who was on season 10 of RuPaul's Drag Race. And this is the 4th year of that, and Melinda is the first person from Edmonton that's on it. So it premiered last week, and she had a viewing party at Evolution, and then they had a show on Saturday.
Oh wow! This is
like,
I love this.
Drag is big now. It is very big.
It seems really fun.
Well, it's a good time, right?
I see they're like on TikTok, like they're all over TikTok, and it's just so funny. Like they're like clapbacks. They're just iconic. I love it.
Yeah, there's some amazing talent in the city. So, like I said, there was 4 shows just on Saturday night, and then there was drag brunch on Sunday. There was a couple drag brunches on Sunday. There's drag bingo tonight. There's drag all the time. So.
There's drag tonight.
Yeah, drag bingo tonight. Every Tuesday night at Spotlight Cabaret, they have drag bingo with Pepper and Pheromone Kills. Pepper was on Call Me Mother, which was another national drag competition television show.
What time is this? I need to go in.
7:00, I think.
Okay, that sounds really fun. So your thoughts? Battle for the rights of the queer community. What does that even mean?
Well, I mean, what does that mean? That means a lot of things, right? So certainly in 1969, like I had said, there was at least a partial decriminalization of homosexuality. That was the end result of a lot of conversations that people were having with at the time the Liberal government, saying, look, again, this is not a disorder. This shouldn't be illegal. This is ridiculous. But that was just the beginning. Like that was not the last battle that needed to be fought. Delwyn Vreend was a teacher in Edmonton who got fired from King's College in 1991 for being gay. There was no protection in Alberta human rights. So basically that means that it was fine. They could fire you for being gay. That wasn't illegal. So he took the provincial government to court saying that, you need to protect gay and lesbian Albertans. You need to protect queer Albertans from being fired, from being evicted. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court because the Alberta government said, no, we aren't going to do that. So that battle went on for 7 years. That was most of the 90s. And so Edmonton was certainly very galvanized by that. There was a lot of fundraising happening on, and a lot of media attention on like an international scale, and certainly on a national scale. And eventually the Supreme Court said, yes, the government of Alberta needs to ensure that the rights of queer Albertans are protected as the same as straight Albertans. So say you can't get fired for being gay, you can't get evicted for being a lesbian, you can't. And but that took 7 years of legal battles against our own government. Like the government, like our taxes were paying for the government to pay for lawyers to, like, it's ridiculous that was a thing. And so that went on all the 90s. And again, that still wasn't the end of it. Like marriage was still illegal. Like same-sex marriage in Canada wasn't legalized until 2005. So 7 years after that. So yeah, it's still ongoing, right?
Yeah, I know there's like religious reasons and whatever else there is. Why do you think there's so much like resistance?
I mean, religion is a big reason.
I feel like a lot of people just use that for kind of.
It's hard to say if people use the religion as an excuse or if it's just like, but hate is not taught. Like people are not born thinking that gay people are wrong. People are not born hating gay people. They're taught that, and they're taught that in a large part because of their parents that were taught that, their churches that were taught that, or that the other adults in their life that were taught that, and a lot of that will end up boiling back down to religion.
Because like when I was a kid, all my peers, everybody my age, like nobody really cared. Like even though I was like, I tried my best to kind of suppress the feminine side of me, but it still like peeked in every so often, and then they would peep it, catch it, and then. But it was never really like that big of a deal. Like they didn't really care, like whatever. It was the adults around. They were the ones who were like nasty and stuff to me.
And eventually, those adults are going to either have their eyes opened and change, or they are going to die off. Those older generations that are kind of hate-filled and religious taught are going to die off, and then hopefully the world is then in a better space. I don't know. Right now, it's kind of seems to be going the other way.
What way?
Well, I mean, like, look at what's happening in the States. Look what's and it's bleeding across the border up here. The anti-drag stuff, the book banning, certainly so much anti-trans legislation, and that's coming across the border in a huge way.
I know. I think like all the straight people, they're just tired of it because it's all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I mean. It is all over the place, but you know what else is all over the place? Straight people.
Yeah.
Like straight people are everywhere. Like they just don't think that that's a big deal because that's just who they are.
Yeah, because it's like it's not the norm to them. It's not the norm.
It's not the norm to them. Yeah. So, but I mean, it's great that there's all these queer stories being told now because there weren't. Like certainly when I was growing up, there were no queer people on TV. There were no out gay celebrities. There were no queer love stories. There was no queer romance. There was no queer books. Like. There wasn't a drag queen story time because there was no gay stories for drag queens to tell. Like
I watched this movie that came out. I think it's called Sam, I Love You or something. It's about this boy. He gets like outed because he has like kind of like a secret admirer or something like that, and it turns out it was like another guy, and but he still continues on with it knowing it's a guy, and they kind of like fall in love. Blah, blah, blah. Just that little gay high school love story. And then I was like, fuck, I wish I like probably like saw something like this when I was younger.
Yeah. And just think now, there's going to be some kid right now who is younger, who is in high school, who maybe has been told his whole life that what he's feeling is wrong, and he's going to see that and he's going to be like, oh, okay, no, I can have an happy ending. So
yeah, this is a big reason too why I asked if you can come too, was because I wanted back in my community in Beshico. I'm Clean Show, I'm Indigenous and in the north, and I wanted to. There isn't much gay representation from at least from me thinking at the top of my head there, and so I wanted them to see this and just gather information from you and kind of like this whole, just kind of like, I wanted like little boys and girls out there to feel like there's people like them, and that it's okay for being whoever they are and who they love and whoever they like,
Yeah.
and that there's a place for them in the world, and they're not alone.
And that's so important, right? Because
Yeah.
if people are not exposed to that truth, that there are people like them, and there are queer people and trans people in every community in Canada,
Yeah.
no matter how small. But sometimes you got to go through some shitty periods
Yeah.
until you can get out in bigger cities where you can connect with people. Certainly, that's one of the good things about the internet and social media. And I don't have a lot of good things to say about the internet and social media right now because they're dumpster fires. But it can help expose those kids that's the only glimmer of hope that they're getting is coming from seeing queer people living their lives, living their authentic lives on the internet.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has their phone in their face, so it's so easy. Going back to like with all that commotion going on for that person. What was her name again? Fighting for the rights and the university.
That was Dylan Dreamed.
Yeah. Back then there was like no social media to go onto, and
There was no social media. No.
yeah, so it's just like to be able to create that much noise back then. That must have took like. That's insane. Like I can't imagine how much work that took.
This was a fairly mainstream media covered event. So like it was in papers, it was on TV, it was on the radio, and there were massive like protests. Like people actually had to go. Like you couldn't just protest on Twitter. You had to paint your signs and go down to the ledge grounds and protest. Like there were actual physical protests, right? And certainly that was not something new. It still happens, right? Like we're seeing it happen right now with what's going on in the Middle East. Is we're seeing protests and marches saying like, look, we need a ceasefire. This is ridiculous. Like, come on, stop killing people. And so that's always been a super effective way. And I think it's a more effective way than social media. Because that's just noise. It's just background noise. People aren't paying attention to it anymore. But I mean, for those kids that are in the closet, that's all they see. It's still important that way. But,
Yeah, you don't really see stuff like that though. Like people outside with their signs and stuff.
well, I mean, I think you do. Like, I think it's
Really?
I mean, like there was just there were marches this weekend about what's happening in Palestine.
Yes,
so,
yes,
right?
and then the police responded and kind of yeah.
Like it's I mean less and less, but I mean like we just had 6 months of a actors strike and a writers strike, and they were outside marching with signs. So it still happens. It's just I think if it's not something that we're particularly connected to, we're not paying attention to the issue. So,
Yeah,
because there's too many issues. We can't care about everything as much as we might want to.
It's like an overload of stuff. Because like back home from where I'm from, there was a wildfire, and then there was COVID before that, and then there's just with me and my addiction issues and stuff. So there's a lot of things and podcasts. So it's just a lot of shit going on.
There's a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
So Edmonton has this group called Pride Corner, and Pride Corner it's on White Ave, and it started because there was this religious pastor guy who would be out there with his little megaphone, blah 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 blah. Jesus hates gays. Come to Jesus. Come to Jesus. Jesus hates gays. And they got tired of walking by it all the time, and so they started showing up when this guy was there every Friday night, and they started showing up with their signs, and they'd show up with rainbow flags, and they'd have I was going to say boom boxes because I'm that old. They'd have like portable speakers and stuff, and just have these dance parties around him to drown him out, so that people that were walking by didn't have to hear the hate that's coming from this crazy religious guy. They could just see this like celebration of queer joy, and that is now happening every Friday night. So that is very much kind of how a physical, actual, real life protest is still happening and making change just right here in the city.
Okay, so there's so you said there's a lot of like fighting still things to fight for. What would be like the biggest one to you? Like the biggest fight that you feel like we need to win?
Well, I think right now there's a very big focus on trans rights, because trans people are being massively discriminated against. The hatred against trans people is increasing like exponentially fast. Like it's like ridiculously fast. I can't believe how crazy it's happening. So I certainly think there's that focus there, and that it's kind of spilling over into just not just anti-trans, it's anti-drag, because these people don't see any difference between drag drag performers and trans people. And certainly it's spilling down into like drag queen story time, which is, we don't want kids exposed to the truth about queer and trans people. We don't want kids to know that they're too young to know that queer and trans people exist. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Some of those kids are queer and trans.
Yeah. So that's a big topic, right?
It's a big topic. Yeah.
Like I know like a lot of like straight people, they don't want that in like schools and stuff. They don't want their their kids, like little kids, to like, I guess, be exposed to drag and just the gay community in general.
But I mean, those kids are in school, they're reading books about straight people.
Yeah.
Like there's no difference, right?
Yeah.
Like some of these people are just so threatened that gay people even exist. They just want gay people to not exist. They want everyone to be back in the closet. They want to not hear about it at all ever again.
I know. This is awesome. Could you go more on it? Like I've never heard anybody really talk about this specific thing other than straight people, and I was just I was like alone. I didn't really know how to respond to it or anything.
Like, so the people that are very opposed to drag queen story time or seeing like a gay couple in a movie, like they have no problems with kids being exposed to a Disney movie where the prince kisses the princess. But if it was a prince kissing a prince, that'd be a big deal. And it's like, well, but it's not. It's exactly the same. It's love is love. Like kids learn about sex ed in elementary school, and if these parents are like, well, as long as it's penis and vagina, it's fine. But I mean, that's not the way that everybody has sex. I mean, sometimes it's vagina and vagina, and sometimes it's penis and penis, and sometimes, straight people might have anal sex too, and straight people might have oral sex too.
Yeah.
So if we're going to teach kids about sex, we need to teach kids about sex and sexuality. We need to teach them that the things that actually matter are consent. Like, are you agreeing to it? Is your partner agreeing to it? That's important. Not who that partner is, not what the genitals of that partner are. It's, do they agree to it? Is it mutual? Is it reciprocated? That's what matters. Is it safe? Are you taking care of your body? Are you taking care of your heart? Are you taking care of your mind? Those are the things that we need to be teaching kids matter, not gay bad, straight good. Like,
I think I feel like maybe they are just afraid because they don't want their kid to like turn gay or something.
I mean, yeah, that's ridiculous. I'm like, frankly, that's ridiculous. I was exposed to straight people my entire life.
Yeah.
I saw straight people on TV. It did not turn me straight. I didn't see gay people, and that created shame and problems for me. So by seeing gay people, kids are growing up, oh yeah, what I'm feeling is normal, and it's fine. It's just, and it's who I am, and this is who I'm going to love. And it's removing all of those problems by having that shame. Like, I'm sure any queer people that are listening or watching this podcast,
there will be few.
Were always exposed to straight people and still did not grow up straight.
Yeah.
You can't turn someone gay. It's not a matter of making someone all of a sudden one day being gay. It's just they're suddenly being open about it. They're suddenly comfortable enough with themselves that they can say, oh, I'm gay. And that doesn't mean that they were straight and all of a sudden they're gay. It means that they were gay and didn't know it, or gay and couldn't accept it. And now that's the difference.
Yeah, or do you want to show it or something? They're scared for some reason. So do you think that people are born gay?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Yeah, I feel that way too, because I was never attracted to women.
I mean, I was never attracted to women. Like, women are certainly attractive. I mean, certainly, like, but
under the beautiful, but not sexually.
Yeah,
is what I meant.
Exactly right. Like it's innate in who you are. Like,
yeah. So when did you come out?
Like basically 1993 is kind of when I started coming out. It was a really slow process. Like, I just told a couple of my friends, and one of them was fine with it, and one of them was okay with it, and one of them was not good with it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop telling people for a while. But it was so freeing to have just told that one person, and because then it was the first time I'd ever said it, and then I could talk about I could be with my friend and be like, hey, that guy's cute, and I had never been able to do that before.
Yeah.
And so once you open up that closet door a little, you want to keep coming out. And so eventually I told a few more, and then kind of got outed to my family, and then I kind of got outed to my mom, and my mom told everybody else. So then I was like, okay, now everybody knows.
I told my mom too, and she went and told everybody.
Yeah, no, like, I didn't tell my mom. Someone else told my mom for me, but it just kind of slipped out. Like, I certainly didn't blame my friend for doing it. It's just how it was. But yeah, my mom told everybody. Like, she was calling everybody and saying, did you know about this? Did you touch him? Did you make him gay? Like, she was trying to figure out who to blame.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, everybody knew. So
back then, though, 93, isn't that like the huge AIDS pandemic thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So
I saw a documentary on that.
AIDS hit Edmonton in 1984. Next year will be the anniversary of that. Is when Edmonton started getting its first cases of AIDS. Certainly by the 90s, AIDS was a global wide pandemic that was killing so many, especially gay men. Part of what Rainbow Story Hub and Edmonton Queer History Project and groups like that do is they're trying to keep those stories now, because all of those people's stories got lost. Like, we lost a whole generation of people to HIV and AIDS, whose contributions to society just ended. And there was such shame around even being gay, and then there was extra shame around AIDS. So there was just this double dose of shame. Like, people, when people die, it'll be like, oh, passed away from cancer or passed away from heart attack, or like they would never say AIDS because there was such stigma around it. And certainly when I came out, kind of to get back to your question, I guess when I came out, that was one of the things my mom was worried about. She's like, it's a very lonely lifestyle. It's a very dangerous lifestyle. And I don't want you to be gay because I don't want you to get AIDS and die. Because in 1993, if you got AIDS, you died. Like, it was kind of just understood. It was a given. So in my mom's head, gay equals AIDS equals death. Yeah. Like, there was no, like, drugs were still new to even prolong a chance. Like, I mean, there's lots of people that got infected with HIV in the 80s and 90s that are still around because the medication was eventually developed. Yeah. But we're still so far from a cure, but
yeah, this is the PrEP. Everybody go on PrEP.
Everybody should be on PrEP. I mean, hashtag Go Freddy. Go Freddy is a great is a great source.
That's who I deal with. Yeah. It's just so easy. You just go on the website and just do whatever they tell you to.
But you still need to take the pills, and you still need to take precautions about other stuff. I mean, PrEP doesn't do anything to protect you against syphilis or gonorrhea.
Oh yeah.
Like, so there's still other stuff that people need to be cautious about.
I saw this, like, some of those podcasts. There's straight guys and they don't even know anything. They're like, yeah, there's pills for to protect them from AIDS now. They're probably just popping it and all fucking each other, not even caring. He's like, they have so much fun.
Well, I mean, that's not wrong.
I know. We know. Yeah. And so oh my God, I didn't know how severe the AIDS pandemic was. Like, what did they say? I think it was like 1 in every 3rd gay person that people knew was dying or something like that.
Yeah, like if you talk to people that were out in Edmonton's gay community in the 80s and 90s, it was just funerals all the time. Like, I know people that won't go to funerals now because they just went to so many
COVID.
They won't go to any funerals for anybody right now because they went to so many funerals in the 80s and 90s. Like, they just lost so many people. Like every week. I couldn't imagine having someone that I know dying that often. Or it's like, we're going out to the bar on Saturday and then we go to the bar the next Saturday and, oh, well, where's so-and-so? Yeah, he died this week. Like, and this was just happening all the time for years and years and years.
I wonder how long it took for everybody to, like, realize how it was spreading.
Well, that's a whole other podcast.
Oh, okay.
But it did take a long time, and certainly it wasn't helped by the fact that the governments were not doing anything to help spread the word. They were certainly not doing any fundraising. The fundraising that started in Edmonton for Edmonton people that were dealing with HIV and AIDS, that led to the AIDS Network of Edmonton, which is now HIV Edmonton, was coming out of like drag shows, drag queens raising money, because that was the only place to get money. Like the government wasn't going to give any money. In the States, like the president didn't even say AIDS for years and years and years after the crisis had started. So like he just wouldn't talk about it, because as long as it was only affecting gay people, they did not care.
They probably loved. They just wanted to like kill us off.
I mean, you're not wrong. That's what people thought. There's a group called ACT UP that they were doing that. They were putting the bodies of dead people, like their dead friends, on the White House lawn to say like, look, this body, like his death is on your hands. Like,
yeah, it's just so sad. I'm just like, ugh. Can't even imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like I came out in '93, so. But I kind of missed all of that. Like I didn't miss it as in like I wish that I was around for it, but I didn't get to experience it firsthand. So.
So what about even then? Like when you came out, was it still like I guess like a big like huge topic and stuff?
I mean, it was like. See, it wasn't a huge topic because nobody talked about it, so that there was just nothing. Like there still wasn't gay people on TV, and the only gay people you saw in movies were like Tom Hanks was in Philadelphia, and so he was a gay man that dying of AIDS. So it was like the only time you ever saw gay people in the media was if they were going to die. So it was usually some sort of like they killed themselves or die from AIDS. Like there were certainly no gay happy endings, but there wasn't a lot of conversation, and there's certainly like there was no GSAs, there was nothing in schools about it. Like we didn't learn about gay people in sex ed. We didn't learn about like. There was just no conversation about it. So it was still very much, people knew, like I think people knew that I was gay before I knew I was gay. Certainly I would get called faggot and stuff before I knew really what that meant. And I don't know if they necessarily knew either. It was just kind of interchangeable with like, loser, nerd or whatever. Like, it's just kids bullying, right? But there was no conversations around bullying either. Like it was just, that's just how it is. It's just kids being kids. Like, yeah. There was no conversations about how bad that is for people's mental health, because there was no conversations about mental health. Like it was like in the 30 years since I came out, all these conversations are kind of in the forefront now. Like I think it is very unlikely now that someone reaches grade 3 or 4 without knowing that gay people exist, or without knowing what a pride flag looks like. I didn't know what a pride flag looked like in 1993. I don't think I'd ever seen one before.
Yeah, we've come a long way. I love it.
Yeah, we have come a long way. We still have a long way to go, but we've come a long way.
Yeah. What's next?
I don't know what's next. I think really like as a community, our focus really has to be pushing back against this religious right that's just on the rise. These like Christo fascists that are taking over our politics and our courts, and certainly in Alberta, like they're running the province right now. Yeah. We just need to really be holding our own against that, so that we don't regress completely.
I feel like this government here, it's next election, it's gonna completely switch. I feel like.
I mean, we'll see. That's what I thought last time. Yeah, like so when
COVID, everybody like blames them for COVID. Yeah. And like everybody blames them for like the whatever increase in interest and all the like economy and stuff, but it's because of COVID hit and it fucked everything up.
COVID changed the world, right?
Yeah. So everybody's blaming them for it.
We'll see. Well, we will see what happens. I know that there was that brief window from 2015 to 2019 when we had a NDP government in charge, and it felt like, okay, the tide is turning. Even in Alberta, we've got a progressive, forward-thinking government now, and things are good. We have a government that's not just gay accepting; they're very like queer affirming, and it's who they are, and they want to make sure that there's queer representation and trans representation and Indigenous representation in their government. And then that lasted for 4 years, and then we went back to.
I hope. I know, like then there's like a. I don't know. I don't really like talking about politics.
I mean, you brought it up.
I know, but then, like, I do in a way, but then I just feel like it's a lot of people might like hear this, and then they're probably just like, oh, I don't want to hear this.
Well, I mean, because inundated with it all the time, right? Like it's impossible to avoid conversations about politics right now. I mean, for the next year, all we're going to hear about is the American election, and I'm just going to like, oh my god, I already am sick of it, and it hasn't even started yet. But that's all we're going to hear about it for the next year.
What do you think about too, like on Facebook? Aren't they like shadow banning and getting rid of like accounts and people who are like talking about politics and stuff? Like I remember there was I think there was like one of my posts or something. They said something about like voting or whatever, and it was just a repost. It wasn't even mine. And then the Facebook took it down.
Yeah, social media has some weird rules for sure. So
yeah,
I mean, like Facebook won't share any news at all right now because anything news related you can't see on Facebook or Instagram. And then I know like any paid content can't be about anything political or social or economic without changing settings. Like it's a mess. But
why?
Well, because it's still a new thing and we're still navigating its impact.
Hi, if you are still watching, thank you, by the way. Oh, and I went to go get a haircut a few weeks ago, and this barber who goes by the name of Conrad did an excellent job. I know I'm wearing a hat right now, but it's because I just woke up and my hair looks crazy. But he did an amazing job. I think that that was like my favorite haircut since moving to Edmonton. So if you want to go support him, please do. He is located at Tommy Gunn's Original Barber in the Kingsway Mall in Edmonton. So that's, again, Tommy Gunn's in Kingsway Mall in Edmonton, Alberta. His name is Conrad. Go to him and let him know that I sent you. Bye. Yeah.
And then once you start interacting with that, you just get more and more and more of that. So like, you interact with one anti-gay post and then you see tons of anti-gay posts or like Evolution, they shared I don't remember what it was about. It was just something about a drag show, and some guy commented on it saying, "Oh, this is drag is awful, drag's terrible, blah blah blah, you horrible people." And it's like, well, stop interacting with it, because now all you're going to see now is gay stuff and drag stuff. So,
and is an algorithm?
Like the algorithm is just going to think, "Oh, you made a comment about something gay, so you want to see more gay stuff." But
oh yeah, so there you go. If you're straight and if you don't like seeing gay stuff, don't comment on it.
Just don't comment. Yeah, just let people live their lives, right?
Yes, exactly. It's not even that hard. Like there's shit I see all the time, and it's like that's a little annoying. But then I keep moving forward.
Scrolling, keep scrolling. I mean, there's 10,000 more new posts while you were reading that one, so just keep scrolling.
Yeah, I feel like it's like an emotional intelligence kind of a thing too. I feel like they are just like so concerned with what we're doing, and it's just like it has nothing to do with them really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what it comes down to. And now they know that now, so they're engineering that kind of rage and they're engineering that outrage, because that's what gets people clicks. Like if we piss you off, then you're going to comment on it, and then if you comment on it, then you see this ad, and then we get money. Like so a lot of social media is just deliberately out to piss us off.
So since we're on politics a little bit, the right, they're based off of like traditional values and family, eh?
Well, that's what they say, which are just kind of buzzwords to mean anti-gay, because gay people's families are traditional. Like what's not traditional about two moms and having two kids, and the kids have a pet, and then they do Christmas with the one mom's house, and then they do Thanksgiving with the other mom's house. That sounds pretty traditional. Like it's just because it's two moms and not a mom and a dad, then that's not traditional. Like again, it's just coming out of this religious upbringing that they have, that they think straight is better when
I don't know, it's so confusing. No. But not really though, because I just kind of just do me.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think we'd be better off if more people I'm just going to live my life authentically, and I'm going to live it in a way that I'm leaving the world better than I found it. And if everybody just did that, maybe we'd be better off. But
yeah,
I don't know.
So like when you were a kid, were there any kind of like signs of like any feminine qualities that like people called out about you, and then how did you like react to that when people would call you out?
Well, I mean, I certainly think there were. Like, I don't know if I can really think of specific examples, but I know I certainly overcompensated. Like, I always made sure that I had a crush on a girl, and that crush had to be very loud. And even though they never really went anywhere, but
Also, like a little beard.
it was kind of like a little beard, right? Like, it's like, well, I can't be gay because all I do is talk about how much I love so and so. Like there was this girl Tara in grade 8, and I was just like obsessed with her for like a year. But really, I mean, looking back, that kind of level of drama was super gay. But it was about a girl, so it was fine, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was trying to convince myself. It's the same, and we see it all the time with the people that are they're just overcompensating. So like,
Yeah.
and so certainly that's what I did. I'm like, as long as everybody thinks that I'm liking this girl or dating this girl, then they're not going to think I'm gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she probably didn't like that too much when she found out you were gay.
Well, nothing ever happened with her. So I mean, I did date a girl in university. I kind of went back into the closet because of how rough my grade 12 was, and I dated a girl for a while, and then I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do this. I'm gay, and I kind of like broke her heart because she's like, oh, he's so sweet, and he's not trying to sleep with me, and like
He understands me.
he's not being aggressive, and he understands me, and I'm like, yeah, it's because I'm a big old homosexual.
Is that? Do you think that's the reason why they like women always say things like, "Oh, like gay guys are like the better ones" or something?
Well, I think that's true, I guess, to an extent. Like, I think those women are responding to the fact that gay men are maybe more in touch with their feelings, or more in touch with their feminine side, or because they're not getting that pressure. Certainly there's lots of straight women that love going to gay bars because they're not going to get hit on and harassed. I mean, there's lots of asshole gay guys too, so I mean, like, maybe it's just men that's the problem, but
Yeah. So, was there like anything in particular before you come in here that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I just kind of wanted to see. I didn't know where you wanted to take the conversation. Like, certainly
Everywhere, everything.
Like, I mean, so I got involved really with Rainbow Story Hub and Queer History Project over the course of the pandemic because there was nothing else to do. So certainly I had a connection to it. But like, I've worked in Edmonton gay nightlife for 25 years, so those stories are kind of like the stories of my own life. So like, Club 70 was the first bar, and then that became Boots, and Boots was the first bar that I worked at, and I worked at Boots on and off from like 99 to 2010, and then Boots closed and it became Junction, and I worked there from 2010 to 2012 when it was open, and I worked at Buddy's from 2004 to 2006. And
I've been to Buddies.
you've been to Buddy's here in Edmonton?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, like, and Buddy's closed 8 years ago today. Like, when I was just on Facebook today, and Facebook Memories, it was like, oh yeah, today's 8 years since Buddy's closed. And I'm like, oh, that's sad. Like, that was the last time there was 2 dance clubs in the city.
I didn't. I was like in the closet still though,
Yeah.
kind of. So I couldn't like really be myself, and I was there with like straight friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I remember just like trying not to like.
It's hard, hey, the first time that you're in a gay bar.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not ready to be in a gay bar yet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really remember I think the first gay bar I was ever at was the Roost, and the Roost was open 1977 to 2007. I was there probably 1997 or maybe 1996 was my first time there. I don't remember anything about it. Like it was too much. Like,
Yeah.
Like, there's just too much going on, and I was just very distracted. And
Do you think like the culture back then was like different? Like I feel like now everybody's just so on their phones, like in the bars and stuff.
oh, I mean, yeah, there were no phones in 1996. I don't know what we did. I think we actually had to talk to people.
Yeah.
like the dance floor now, it's quite often, and people are like on their phones dancing, like on their phones while they're dancing, and like back then it wasn't, so there was maybe a little bit more hands up in the air, woo woo. Yeah, it's very different. Like the internet and smartphones, it changed cruising, it changed gay bars, it certainly kind of did away with bathhouses, like, because then you just have a hookup app in your hand.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't necessarily need to go out when you can just order in a guy off the internet, like it's like you're ordering in pizza. Like,
Which is like on Grinder, I say like there's like a lot of they are very selective on there.
I mean, so if you, look at it kind of like if you're ordering, like, skip the dishes. You can order exactly what you want to eat.
Yeah.
It just like, so you can just check all these boxes, but people aren't finding, like, they're missing out on so many connections with so many people, and it's so much easier for people to be assholes on apps like that, because that's kind of where the whole, like, no fats, no femmes, no Asians, like, no, I don't want to date anyone that doesn't have a perfect body, or blah 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 blah. Like, it's ridiculous, and you're missing so many connections with people. And if you see people in real life, then it's much harder to be like a mean gay to them, because you can immediately see the reaction. Whereas if you just send someone a bitchy message on Grindr, you don't see how much it actually hurts their face. Like, 'cause you're not seeing that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are super problems. And I'm not saying that people are not mean to people in person, because obviously they are. And people are still racist when they're cruising in person, and people are still sizist and whatever, or ageist when they're cruising in person. But it's easier to do it on an app.
Yeah, and I feel like in our communities, it's really like prevalent again too. I'm not prevalent. Is that a word?
Yeah, prevalent. Yeah,
prevalent. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of just like common in a way. Like they would just openly say it and stuff.
They do openly say it. I don't know. See, I sometimes I forget straight people exist, because I've been around gay people so much over 25 years. So I don't know if straight people are any better. Like, they're probably just as bad. I'm sure straight men are just as, like, no, I want my woman to look like this. She has to have this color hair, and her boobs have to be this big. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a straight guy. And I'm sure women are like the same too. Like, I want a guy that's got a six pack, and I want a guy that's blah blah blah. I want a guy that the guy's got to be 6'3" with tattoos. It's like I'm sure everybody's really specific, but I mean, the more limits we place on who we allow ourselves to be attracted to, or even just to be friends with, like, we're limiting the experiences that we're allowed to have. Like, if we let ourselves interact with people outside of our perfect little bubble of this is what we want, then we get exposed to so many more types of people and so many more stories.
Yeah. And you can like learn something too.
Absolutely right. That's how we learn, is by getting exposed to other people. Like, who knows? Like, maybe one of my best friends would be like 4'11", but I don't know, because I'm only looking to meet people that are 5'3" or what, you know.
Yeah. Also, you like short guys.
No, well, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm just using that as an example. Like, okay. we all love short kings. So
yeah, we all do. So, what? I don't know. I feel like there's like so much labels now. I just go with just gay.
There are a lot of labels. That's certainly challenging. Like, I know there's lots of conversation around like the acronym. When I came out, it was very much just like gay or lesbian. Those were your options. Like, even Edmonton, it was the Gay and Lesbian Community Center, which like right away is eliminating bisexual people. There was a different understanding of trans, and there were certainly no conversations around people that are asexual or pansexual or all the different types of sexual that exist now. There was not two-spirit as part of it. So, I mean, the acronym grows and grows and grows, and the more letters that you try to include, the more identities that you try to include by adding their letter onto the acronym, the more that you need to do. Like, it's gone a little bit too far. So I know a lot of people just go with queer because of that, or, I mean, the far right kind of makes fun of it and calls them the alphabet people, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's not so bad. I'm like, the alphabet community, or the rainbow community, or the pride community, or however you want to do it, because like 2S LGBTTIQQAA,
yeah, it's a lot.
PB, like it starts like, even when I'm just saying it, I'm like, okay, it sounds a little silly.
I'm gonna start saying queer too, because I get like I tongue tied.
Like, queer is a good way for when you talk about the community, but I still, like, I don't define myself as queer. I still say that I'm gay. But,
yeah, same.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I remember finding out about Two-Spirit for the first time, and then I was like, I didn't know what it was. I've never heard of it before, and but that doesn't seem like me. I don't think so. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I don't know much about what it means. Like, Two-Spirit, it's an identity that non-Indigenous people should not be using ever for themselves, like that is very specific.
Yeah, for
it's a very specific intersection of queerness and indigeneity. So
yes, for somebody who like has feminine and masculine energy.
I mean, I think everybody does that. So I mean, but I mean, we have a two-spirit drag house in the city, and we have a two-spirit society. Like maybe they'd be a good connection. Like Edmonton Two-Spirit Society might be worth connecting to.
But I feel like everybody has feminine and masculine
right? Everybody
energy.
does. So it's just, I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to speak to kind of what that two-spirit means when people are using it to define themselves, because I can't, because I'm not Indigenous. So. But you had asked earlier about groups in the city, and there is Edmonton Two-Spirit Society, which I had not, and they do a whole bunch of programming as well. So and certainly, I think you're going to find a greater respect for sobriety and recovery and dry events in there. So that might be a good way to access some community.
Yeah. So you, as a gay cis man,
Yeah.
do you find that, like, since you're around the gay community, you just said that you're surrounded by everybody for like 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see like a difference in how you're treated than, say, maybe somebody who's Indigenous and queer?
Oh, absolutely, right. Like I'm white. I'm cis. I've got
handsome.
But like middle-aged, business owner, and so it's like I've got a lot of privilege working for me. So I certainly see a lot of people go out for like a night out in a space, and they don't have that. Like they're not white or they're fat, or they're disabled, or there are so many other things that I mean, judgy people are going to judge, and they shouldn't. And I certainly try to live my life without judging people based on those characteristics. But I know that's not always something that I would succeed at doing, and I certainly know there's other people that don't even make the effort. But we're raised that way, right? And then certainly we come out and we're inundated with only smooth and toned bodies are pretty, and I'm like, that's just not true. No. Or it's it's a mess. But I'm certainly aware of the privileges that I have.
Yeah. So you being aware of your privileges, do you think that, like, is that like a fight that you would want to have, like trying to get the straight people to see us like everybody else who isn't like you, to like kind of treat us equally?
Well, I guess for the most part in my life, I'm not fighting with the straight people. I'm trying to create space for those other marginalized groups in the queer community. I'm trying to get other queer people to just be nice to other queer people. Like it's like, okay, let's all get along, and then because I'm like I'm not saying the straight people are the enemy, but like we have very real enemies out there. We have like far right conservative people that would rather we just didn't exist. We have a real enemy. We don't need to be fighting amongst ourselves. So let's give platforms to the trans community. Let's give platforms to Indigenous and Two-Spirit performers and people in our spaces. Let's create programming for BIPOC people. And that's what we try to do with. I mean, so Evolution it's a white owned club, cis white owned, but I think certainly the space tries not to just be for cis white gays. Like a lot of the programming in the space is like this Friday we have a sapphic drag show, so it's all lesbian women performers, and like last Saturday was an all Filipino cast, and so
I love that.
So it's just trying to give experiences for everyone from our community. Like everybody deserves kind of an even playing field, and so that's just what we try to create.
Oh, perfect, great. So it wasn't for people like you, wouldn't be probably this far in the queer like kind of world. I feel like.
I mean, there's so many people that have helped get me to where I am. There's certainly so many people that have helped get Edmonton and the rights of queer Edmontonians and queer Albertans and queer Canadians to where they are, and people that I'm like privileged to call friends, and people that are still very active in our communities, like Michael Fair. Was Edmonton's first out gay politician, but
Michael Fair.
Michael Fair. But he's even 10 years before he was a politician, he was an advocate in our community. He was one of the people that was arrested at the Pisces Spa raid, and it was around his kitchen table that the AIDS Network of Edmonton kind of formed. So he was an active person in the early years of AIDS advocacy and in the early years of Pride, and then he went on to city council. And was a huge advocate for trying to get Pride recognized by the city. And he's still working with groups like Edmonton Queer History Project and Rainbow Story Hub. He's working with Aging with Pride and Edmonton Pride Seniors Group to try to get a retirement community for aging gay and lesbian Edmontonians. And so people like him, people like Darren Hagen, who was a drag queen and playwright and actor who took drag out of gay bars and into the fringe, and carved a niche carved a huge area for queer art in the city, are people that I worked with through the Imperial Southern Court of the Wild Rose, like people like Ron Byers and Jim McBride, and who have been business owners and advocates and storytellers and party throwers for my entire life, and that I'm so blessed to have known and to have learned so much from them. I realize that those examples are all also cis white, but that's
your life. That's your experience.
That's my life, and that's my experience. Sadly, especially when it comes to Edmonton, and there are many non-cis white male people, but I mean there is still a predominance of them because that's what Edmonton was for so long.
Yeah.
Like, and those people did have the privilege that they could, they didn't need to focus so much on the day-to-day living. They could just focus on what they're going to do to make things better. And hopefully when they were making things better, they were taking down gates that made it easier for BIPOC people, for trans people, to become part of those greater conversations.
Yeah. I don't like how I feel like the far left and stuff, it's very they make people, especially white people, feel like they are like bad because they're white. It's like, no. And then they make you feel like you are doing something wrong, and because you're not fighting for stuff that they believe in too.
I get that. I get where you're coming from. I certainly see a lot of people that see that very similar. I think it's just, it comes down to, please, what they're saying is, please recognize that the fact that you're white, the fact that you're cis, the fact that you're straight, or the fact that you're male, or the fact that you're able-bodied, like, you have advantages that not everybody has. Yeah. So acknowledge that, and then don't make it harder for the people that don't have those same advantages as you.
There you go. That's perfect.
But that's just hard to say in a tweet. So that ends up being like, oh yeah, white people are horrible. Yeah. But that's not that's not helpful, and that's not really what I think most people are saying. Like, there's probably some people that are just like, yeah, white people are horrible. And I mean, certainly there's some days that I look at what's happening in the world and I'm like, white people are horrible. But all the issues are more complicated than that, right?
It always is. Yeah. And it's just, I think that people need to do more research and stuff. And I really love that you said that, because there's a lot of rooms that even I can't walk into, and but then just leave the door open a little crack open when you walk through, and then maybe I'll be able to walk in too as well.
Right? Like there shouldn't be any doors, there shouldn't be any gates, there shouldn't be any barriers, but that's
one day.
One day, right? That's what we're working towards. So it just, if everybody keeps tearing down doors and tearing down gates and having uncomfortable conversations, people have to be willing to have uncomfortable conversations. And a conversation is not just one person talking, it's one person talking and then that same person listening and learning and taking what they're told, even if it's uncomfortable or hard to hear, and becoming better. We can all become better people.
Yeah. So just learning. with all of this history and history and stuff, I hope you're recording it. Are you?
Yeah, no, and that's the whole point, right? So, Edmonton Queer History Project has been around since basically like 2015 or 2014. It kind of started at the OVA, and now it's based out of McEwen. They released last year a downtown walking map that's got, like you can take this little walking tour around downtown of all these places, like businesses or where groups had their meetings, or like, this was a lesbian bookstore, and these were some lesbian architects, and here is one of the first places for the Gay Alliance towards equality, or this is where the early prides were. And so there's write-ups on them, and they're very in-depth, well-researched, and then there's links and footnotes for people that want more reading. Rainbow Story Hub kind of takes the exact same stories, but from a different side. We just want to hear from the people that were there, and like, this is what the experience was like for me. This is kind of where I was coming from, and this is what we did, and this is how we changed it. I know one of the things that Rainbow Story Hub is releasing next week, there was a magazine that came out from 1993 to 2005 called Times 10, and it was a printed magazine of like gay news and gay events and stuff. And so we're wanting to put together a little write-up this week to release next week for its 30-year anniversary of it coming out. Just talking about what it was like to found that magazine, hearing from the original people, like, why did you guys do that? Who was involved? What was the reception at the time in the community? Stuff like that, right? Because we want this all chronicled and written down and stored somewhere, so that in 30 years, if people want to find out about what it was like to be queer in Edmonton in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and 2000s, it's there. Like, the stories are there, the pictures are there.
I think that would be like, I want to know like who were like the leaders, the gay leaders, just in charge and doing like ahead of the movements and stuff. I think that would be really neat to read about.
And so like people like Michael Farr are certainly one of them. People like Murray Billett, who was really instrumental in the early years of the Edmonton Police Liaison Committee, which was a committee set up to stop some of the problems that the queer community was having with the police. Like, the police were raiding parks and arresting guys for hooking up in the woods at parks. And so it's like, okay, just like, let's not do that. How do we work together? And fighting for... See, in the 90s, the fight was to get the police to be included in the parade. Like that. So when Edmonton police started marching in pride parades, it was a big victory for these people. That's what they were fighting for. It was recognition from something so traditionally conservative and straight and masculine, like the police, to be part of this celebration of queerness. That was a big victory. The conversation has kind of moved past that now, where there's a lot of people that think that shouldn't be happening, that police shouldn't be part of it, and that's a whole other conversation in another podcast too. But certainly there's so many leaders like that, like people like that we need to get their stories told now. So many of them have passed away, some people from the early years, right? Whether that's from HIV and AIDS, or whether that's just from old age, or when we're going back 50 years. I mean, there's lots of ways that people die.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I love it how like in Edmonton here, it seems so like diverse here in a way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you see all kinds of people from all walks of life, and they're all here. And with me, for like example, with me walking through the mall with my nails and stuff, and everybody being so like cool and welcoming, and they weren't, honestly, it wasn't really like that when I didn't have the nails. So I don't know what, maybe because like people are so like maybe it's just like, oh, like maybe he's cool, like he's expressing himself, kind of a thing.
Yeah, maybe. I think I like Edmonton. Like, I've been here for 25 years. I don't really have any interest in leaving. I think it's a very accepting city for the most part. I mean, like, every city is going to have its problems or areas where it's maybe less accepting. I think it's very accepting. I think Edmonton has got a really strong arts and theater scene, and it's a very strong culturally city. So, and that is obviously going to be linked to a lot of like queer people, because queer people are super creative. And then the people that work with those queer people in that arts and theater community are going to be exposed to queerness and be like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Those people are fine. They're talented. They're hardworking. They're funny. They're evil. They're mean. They're whatever. But they're the same. Like we're all the same.
Yes, we all got our advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons. Anyway, so I think will you come back again some other time?
I mean, yeah. Like I hope. There's lots more conversations we can have. So the people that are listening, like drop something in the comments what you would want to hear about, or what did we kind of talk about but not really get into deep, and then we can do another one. But like let's hear what your listeners and viewers want.
Yeah, we're just like touching the waters right now.
Yeah, absolutely,
seeing,
right? Like,
dipping our feet.
This is the big picture, but we can like break it down into tiny little sections.
Yeah, because when walking into this, I was just like, history, and I didn't realize that there was like so different parts to it.
So many different parts, right? Like we could have easily talked 2 hours and just talked about different bars that happened, and this is this bar and it opened in this year, and these are kind of the things they did, and then it closed, and then this bar opened, and we could have done that for 2 hours. Like I could have talked for 2 hours just about the 10 years of evolution. Like there's lots. So
Yeah. And what's your what's your favorite like gay book?
Oh, that's so hard. I just read. I can't do favorites because there's too many. But I just finished. It's called,
top 5.
It's called, the one I just finished is called Last Dance at the Discotheque for Deviants, and it's about the fall of the Soviet Union and what it was like to be gay in Russia and in like 1993. And it was really good. It was really powerful. That one's kind of sticking with me. I like some like just cheesy romances too. Like I loved Red, White, and Royal Blue. I've read it several times. I've seen the movie. Like it's great. Dancer from the Dance is like a super gay classic. It's absolutely beautifully written. Probably my favorite gay series is Tales of the City. It was written as originally published like serially, so it was just like one chapter a week in kind of like the San Francisco paper, and then eventually it became a series of, I think it's up to 10 novels now.
Gay movies.
Oh, so many gay movies. And I love that there's so many new gay movies right now, because my favorite gay movies, I'm probably our Broken Hearts Club is great. Jeffrey, It's My Party are probably two of my favorites from like the 90s. It's My Party is really sad. It's about a guy who's dying from AIDS and decides to have a big party with all of his friends at and then kill himself rather than have go through a slow process of dying. And certainly in recent years, I mean, like Love, Simon's great. Red, White, and Royal Blue again was great. I loved Bros. I know a lot of people hated Bros, but I loved Bros.
I need to go check these out.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So, do you have any last words that you would like to say to my audience?
No, I'm like thank you all for listening. I mean, that's an hour and a half of
already
of me talking. So I'm like, if you're still here, I'm like, good. I'm like, please follow Rainbow Story Hub. Please follow Edmonton Queer History Project. Please follow Evolution Wonderlounge. Get in touch with get out there and meet some queer people, and it'll be an eye-opening experience for you.
Yes. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
That concludes an episode. Oh, sorry. Did I enter that?
No.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you.